Usually there's like this soft intro that comes in. And sometimes I wish there is music playing before, but I don't want YouTube or Facebook trying to take our stuff down for some music yet. But whenever that music that I make gets published onto Sacred Waters Healing Temple, then I'm going to be clear to go. And
All right.
I can play some nice melodies up on the
Oh,
introduction. You know,
nice,
you know
nice.
how we talk.
Yes, yes, I'm all for it. So get the step in. How long it'll take you to get it done?
Yeah, just make it happen, right? That's what we've been doing.
Right.
That's what we've been doing. I've met you. I said I've met you. I've met you like it's been like 2 months so far.
Yeah.
It's been like 2 months since I've actually been able to meet you, and we have
Mhm.
took off since back to
Yeah.
back ideas,
Right.
ideas. How many projects do we have right now?
About 9, 10.
Everything Everything is in the. We got so much stuff in the making. So many things being progressively moving forward.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Because and things are getting done, like
Yes.
this.
Yeah.
Okay. The book.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like, okay, we're idea people, but we are also for manufacturers. You know what I mean? Bringing it into existence. You know,
Composers.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just beautiful. It's a good thing.
Ashe. Beautiful.
Uh,
Beautiful. Beautiful
Shit.
synergy. Good synergy. That's what it is. Good energy
Oh,
all throughout
and
the
awake
process.
with the file. That's done.
It's like you literally did that. You really ran through all of that within like an hour or two. I was like, "Hey, can you go ahead and make a week give me a batch of content for the week ahead?" And he was like, "No problem." I woke up the next day and it was links. And I was like, "Is it okay if you can get some captions in there so I'll know which video and what to title it?"
Mhm.
Came back, do, 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 do. Like, yes. That's because
Yeah.
you have years of programs, years of work that you have already established, and that is so great.
Well, and the years of experience in terms of you know the process to progress,
Hmm.
and it's like, okay, shoot, I can do this. And it's like I just listen to some of it. I mean, I'm the one who created it, and so it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I talked about the heading is basically the same as the opening sentence.
Hmm.
So it's like, damn, okay, well, let's talk about Ori. So, of course, just starts off with today we're going to talk about Ori.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, there's a method to the madness. And
I like.
now moving forward, I will go ahead and make sure um, I send you everything out like in a packet. So it won't be like one. It'll be
Hmm.
like all files, and then file numbers, title, and description, maybe in 2 emails and not 7.
Yeah, it's just getting more like the process is getting more efficient
Yes, more efficient.
and well,
Yeah.
more packaged. Yeah, for sure. Well, we are here, and we do have some people coming in and introducing themselves. I want to introduce myself here. I am Ifa Umilare Fatosin, and I am the mother, the priestess, the storyteller, the artist, and the host of Sacred Waters Healing Temple is the home of divine mysticism and ancestral medicine, assisting us into a cosmic rebirth for the ascension of our true self. And with the pleasure and honor, I have been joined with Aloye Baba Ifa Karadé, an esteemed elder, scholar, and author of the Handbook of Yoruba Religious Concepts. His work has shaped generations of practitioners, researchers, and seekers who desire an authentic and grounded understanding of Isheshe in the Yoruba spiritual worldview. And today we are on chapter two of one of his latest books, 2024, right?
Mm,
2024, 2023, rather, of Ogbon. I hope this isn't in reverse. I
no,
hope
it looks
this is
good. It's up. Hmm.
okay. Yeah, of Ogbon. Yeah. So over here, we pretty much we allow the space for artists, activists, scholars, teachers, students. In the Shay world, you get a bundle of amazing people that come
Yes.
with great intellect. And I want to make sure that those people are revered in this lifetime for their works and their legacy in this lifetime. And all of that is upheld in this lifetime. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's all. So, yes. So, if you will, can we just get started? It was exciting.
Right. All
So
right.
it's a lot of people I know that's been waiting for this conversation. They like your approach with the pragmatic philosophies of Ifa.
Well, first of all, it's an honor to be here. Okay, and alafia to all of our listeners. Okay, and to those of who are resonating with the teachings, with the vibrations that we're bringing. You know, through, by way of Ifa, through the road of Ifa and Isheshe. So I'm honored to be here, and Ianifa, as we say, Motupwe, I thank you for keep keeping the legacy strong. The legacy of understanding, understanding what Ifa is about. Not just doing what it's about, but grasping deeper understandings and awareness, because that's the most important ingredient for our growth and our development as individuals, as a group, as a nation, and as an empire. Okay, so uh, many thanks to you and the essence of Ifa and the Shea that flows through you. Okay, and again, it's an honor to be here. Okay, always, every day, live with honor,
Let's
you know,
see.
and commitment to purpose. Okay, so are we going to jump right in? Because you know me.
Yeah, we can go. This can go as smooth as you want it to be.
By the time you say go, I'm halfway to the finish line. All right.
All right, well, let's get started.
All right. Again, peace and love, good people. All right. So we're on part two of Ogbon. Ah, now, many may wonder because we generally don't hear this term, nor the terms that I'm going to bring up as we explore and experience Ifa and Isheshe. We hear the common terms, names of the Orisha, uh, being mounted, okay, getting a quote unquote reading. Those who are a little bit more subtle might say, I'm going to get divination. So, the terms build the mindset. You know, words are language, but words are more than language. Words are frequencies, words are tonalities, words are literally music to our ears. Now, whether we like what we hear or not, we still hear it and we still feel it. So I felt that for all that was there were terms that were missing. And they weren't terms that I was making up. They were just terms that once I researched and then experienced. Okay. So I'm not, as they call it, an armchair kind of individual. If I learn something and I feel as though it's worthy of teaching, then I take time to experience it and explore it so that I'm just not, as they say, regurgitating or basically just reading from the book. even books that I've written. I still go over it. I still have discussions about it right here. We talk about what's in the book. I see how people are taking it, and that has an effect on how I present it. Okay, so let's look at the term Ogbon. Never in my experience with elays, okay, outside of my own or prior to my own, where we're hearing terms like wisdom, intellect, thinking things through, okay, uh, cognitive acuity, you know. So it just reeked of this very prejudicial, yeah, and I'm going to say it, prejudicial and biased, okay, perception of we as an African people. Like we weren't thinkers. We were just noble savages, basically, in spite of the empires that we've built, in spite of the civilizations. Okay, that projection, by the Western society, the Western quote unquote civilization, is that these aren't thinking people. They're children, they're shackled, they're enslaved. Now, being involved in Ifani Sheshe is a iconoclastic kind of move. It's like through our tradition, okay, we free ourselves from mental slavery. And part of that freeing has to do with the terms that we use. Okay? The terms that we use, the words that we put into the ether, the words that we speak into the universe, and the inner verse of us. Okay? So Ogbon is wisdom. And Ogbon, it can be broken down into Ogbon Inu and Ogbon Ori. The wisdom of what our body tells us is Ogbon Inu. The wisdom of that inner voice that keeps speaking to us. It's like, yeah, I knew I should have done that. Or, yeah, I hear myself thinking what we call in the academic world metacognition. But see, Ifani Sheshe as a cultural rippling, if you will, like tidal, like a wave, or has this in it. It's not something that I'm pulling from way over there somewhere and saying, oh well, this fits into Ifani Sheshe, or I'm gonna make it fit. No, it's already there. It's already there. I'm just uncovering the treasure and presenting it to the Ifa Isheshe masses of people. So that's Ogbon. Ogbon is wisdom. And that's why I said I'm going to make it plain and clear. I'm going to name the book Ogbon. And then upon, research, there are other people who have named their books Ogbon as well. But this one speaks primarily to us of the African in America. Okay? But that's a topic for another day. Now let's look at the terms pragmatic. Pragmatic basically means what's useful. Okay? Pragmatic, not something that's so abstract. The keep doing, keep doing, keep doing, hoping and praying that something miraculous is going to happen. Okay? Only to discover that we're, as I like to say, dancing around the fire. Okay? And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that. I always state the pie graph. Okay, so yeah, so we do a little of the ritualization and the ceremonial and the ecstatic. Okay, we get mounted. We're fascinated by people being able to read us at a Bembe, etc. And I said, okay, well that's fine, but that's not all of it. You know, our ancestors didn't spend 24/7, days and hours in their lives just doing that. That was a segment, and that was a part of. We are kind of trapped into believing without even thinking that this is it. Again, non-thinkers. Okay. But being pragmatic means that we're taking Ifa and Isheshe, the principles of it, and applying it to our daily lives. For what purpose? Clearly, to better ourselves and better our relationships with the world, to assist in navigating through the trials and tribulations. How is this going to be useful? Not how is it going to get me what I want? How is it going to satisfy my immediate gratification? How is it going to help me, to be imaginary, pragmatic? No, there's no imaginary. It's good, hard look at what needs to be done and what tools, practices, okay, techniques, strategies that we have to bring about the fulfillment of our destinies. Okay, so that's pragmatic. Right? Then, of course, philosophy, basically the study of life and how life evolves and how it hopefully, becomes uh, wisdom, Sophia. Okay, all right. So here's the book. Okay? Inside, okay, we begin to journey. We have discussed in part the Tawede element, where we take 16 days observance, and each day in the order of the Odu via the Babalaos of the Ile Ife region. Okay, I have to be specific and say for each day we're going to not attempt to memorize the Odu verses, the essay, nor the Odu Etans, the lore of it. I went through years of that. Okay, not so much for the memorization, but for the understanding. Because see, it's clear to me that just because somebody memorizes something, okay, now you are talking with a retired secondary school teacher and a college professor, that memorization doesn't equal understanding nor application nor any inside knowledge. It's just like a young child can memorize a song about being in a relationship, but have no clue as to what being in a relationship is really about. You understand? It's just memorization, recitation. Oh, I can recite something, but that doesn't mean that I even know what I'm saying, what I'm doing. So I'm not one for that. And when it comes down to religiosity, we can have people who memorize verses of any holy book, but that doesn't equal nor equate to who they are as a person, you know, what their agenda is, what their motives are. So I decided to, with the blessings of my ancestral dawning, to say it's not so much about memorizing, it's about understanding. It's about getting to know the Odu. Okay. Now, 16 major Odu are called the Oju Odu. Okay. They're the 16 major, and they are said to be actual individuals, actual persons. So you get different stories from different places. Some say they came from ancient Kemet to study with Arumila, and who was moving back and forth across the continent. Some say that they were wise men from the area in Nigeria, between Nigeria and Chad. The stories are are many. Because you have stories that change, but regardless of the outside of the story changing, the inside of the story remains that they were 16 students, disciples, acolytes of Orunmila, the prophet figure. And the two major disciples, whose names aren't in Odu, are Akoda and Asheda. Those two individuals had a great deal to do with spreading the message, the teachings of Orunmila, of Ifa, to various regions throughout the West African theater, I like to call it. Okay? So there is a background history to this. There is background legend to this. Just like in any other religious construct. So yes, we go to the Babalaos, we go to the Ears and the Babas, we go to the Ialaos. Oh, we want to get a divination. Oh, this is my Odu, this is my Odu, this is my Odu. But if there's no context for it, we are basically just doing what we're told by someone who's interpreting the Odu. And we just go with that without putting thought into it and weighing the internalness of it all. Oh, I got to go make an elbow. I made an elbow. Oh, I need an e-day. A day. Okay, so we're doing everything on surface level. And again, I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. All I'm saying is that there's more to it than that. Okay, and for those of you out there who've known me for a while, you know that I'm just not going down this path for the sake of. I am moved, okay, as an initiate of 40 plus years. Okay, so here we are at the gate of the portal of, okay, greater understanding. We're moving from doing what we're told to being given the opportunity to resolve and bring ourselves more into Ifa and Isheshe. All right. So we have the 16 Odu, okay, from Agbe to Ofun, right? The Oju Odu. Now those 16 give essence to, give birth to, if you will, right? 240 other Odu, which are combinations of the 16. Okay. We call those the Amulu or the Omo Odu. It's worthy of study, just like there's sutras and suras and books of, you know, uh, any other religious construct that we can put a finger on. We have our own, and for the most part, it's unadulterated. You know, it and it shows the deepness of our people. Okay. There was said to be an an order of Babalaos, okay, even before the Odu, who were basically oral traditionalists, just like we find in maybe Greeks and all that, where you had the passage of the oral. Same with the Bible. These were in part oral traditions. Okay, same with Islam. Okay, but at some point, you know, started to be written down. Okay, in one form or another, and just because it wasn't written down in English or Arabic doesn't mean that it wasn't written down. And one of the ways that it was written down for us in Ifani Sheshe, you know, is through and by means of the signatures of the Odu. Okay. Light, 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 okay, or open, 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 okay. Agbe, dark, 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 okay, or close, 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 depending on how the opule falls, or even the obi, okay. And now we can just flip to the Merindilo Gun, whereby the Baba and Iya Lauritius use the commonly termed 16 calories. The order is different, but the premise is still the same. And the Odu are still called by their names. Okay. 8 shells up, Agbe, 7 shells up, Yemuja, 5 shells up, Oshun, 9 shells up, Oya, and so forth. Okay. So here we have a system worthy of study, not just obedience. Okay. Because see, the syncretism, okay, has kind of, poured and twisted a certain kind of uh, substance that still reeks of Catholicism. Now, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I know our people have survived the horrors of enslavement. Okay. However, you know, as our generations become more and more free, okay, there is an opportunity for us to, learn more and more and more and expand our consciousness more and more and more as the shackles leave our body. We now work at undoing the shackles on our minds, on our oris. Okay. And the Odu is a viable way to do it. And the Odu more so from the West African perspective. And yes, it has been changed due to syncretism, you see. So there's comparative analysis that can be done. I'm not here in judgment, okay? I'm just here in fact. So we have the Odus, okay? And we know we observe the Odus every December, okay? We have the Odus that come with the Opwele, but we also have the Odus that come with the Merendi Logun. And all of this is laid out in Ogbon. Okay. And it's also laid out in the handbook of your religious concepts. And it'll continue to be laid out in forms and fashions, okay, throughout my lifetime and beyond. Okay. But there should be no surprise at that. Because look at how all the other religions have branched out and taken root in various aspects of our lives in any given society. You know, this whole notion that only the Babalawos can know the Odu, or only you got to be initiated to know the Odus. That's very Catholic in thinking. Okay, it really is. And that structure is really a strangling of our capacity to learn and to grow. So you really think that we who have established the Oyo empire, and we who built the Great Wall of Benin, okay, couldn't think didn't teach our children, okay, didn't have schools, didn't have a ritual list who specialize in rituals, but also had philosophers. Okay, but when we think about Greece, we seem to have no problem with that. But when we think about our own, it's like we're still on the plantation. We're still children. And we even call ourselves that in Ifa and Isheshe. Okay. Again, I'm not here in judgment. I'm just saying that there's more to it than that. You know, there's more to it than that. All right. So, life. I mentioned something about life, and now we're going to go into the six. I like to call them life areas. Okay, I was almost going to call them life arenas because it seems as though these are the areas where we find ourselves in the greatest joy and in the toughest conflict. Okay, but I made sure to place these six areas inside the book Ogbon. Okay. And those areas are life lessons. What does that Odu say about the lessons that I, I need to learn about my life? Okay. The second one is the self. Okay. What challenges and changes and transformations must I consider doing, within myself? Okay. Relationships, not only in terms of marital or spousal or in any way, shape, or form, but how am I relating to others? How are others relating to me? Okay. How do I see myself in the world of relationships? How do I see myself subjectively? And can I look at myself objectively? Okay. Economics is number four. Okay. It's not only a matter of money, it's also a matter of energy. It's also a matter of time. It's all of that. What am I investing in? And what's my profit margin, projected? Okay. And then what do I do with that? Do I reinvest it or do I basically squander it? All right. Number five is health. How am I working through with my health? What are my concerns about health? Okay. That I may not be realizing, but the Odu is sharing with me via the Ialao, Babalao, Ialarisha, or Babalarisha. Okay. In this respect. Now, in a related respect, someone who could be mounted, okay, by the Orisha, okay, Eshin Orisha to be mounted, okay, and can tell you almost the same thing as the divination can tell you, or someone with tarot cards or tea leaves, okay. But we're focusing on this specifically. I'm just saying that it's not, an either or in our tradition. Okay. It's a and it's a pie graph. How much of this, how much of that. Okay. And then you as an adult, okay, weigh and measure so that you determine what's the best way for you, what's the best path for you. We're not products of cookie cutting. Well, everything, it works for everybody. Obviously not. Okay. And the last one, number 6, is, okay, religiosity. Okay. And in this sense, now we start talking about who are the presiding Orisha in each and every Odu. Okay. Now notice it says presiding. It doesn't say the only. Okay. So if Ejiagbe comes up on the opale from on the right side, all shells up, light, 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 light. On the left, light, 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 light. Okay. Uh, Marindi Logun, 8 shells up. E King, marked on the pawn in the Yerosun, 1, 1, one line, one line, one line, one line, one line, one line. Okay. So here we have the Odu Ejiagbe speaking through at least forms, three forms of divination. And it's incumbent upon the diviner, not the reader as much as the diviner, divination, divine, to assist the seeker, the acolyte, the aberrisha, okay, to reaching a stage slowly and sometimes and painfully greater stages of divinity within themselves. The Odu is just not set for worldly pleasure, control, ego, because as is stated in the Odu, Ogunda, Iwori Rete, okay, Ogunda Meiji to be specific, Iwori Rete, that Ori is not to be denied. One whose offerings and sacrifices not whose Ori does not accept them, okay, will lead to great difficulties. And that the divinities themselves and Olodumare sees through into the sincerity of a person's heart. And Olodumare discerns the heart. So you can make all the offerings you want, but if your heart is not good, you can get all the odus that you want and do whatever you're told by whomever tells you, but mindlessly, okay? But the Orisha and Olodumare are watching, and you're like, oh, I keep doing these ebos, and I keep going and getting these readings, and my Odu yesterday was this, but today is that, and it's like, okay, but all of that is so superficial, okay, and exhausting, and extinguishing your own inner flame. These studies of the Odu, as stated in Ogbon, is to bring forth the greater light within. That is what the Odu are. And I'm going to tell you about Odu, and it might be questionable. Even the term Odu is said to come from the wife of Orunmila, whose name was Odu. Okay. Now, there are some people who are, jumping up and down. They basically jump up and down about anything. Okay. But Odu is said to be the wife of Orunmila, who stated that she would become his wife. And of course, it was in a polygynous situation, but she had a taboo, and that is no one could see her unclothed. One of the younger wives on this fateful day happened to accidentally walk in on her. And Odu, at that time, my taboo has been broken. Okay, so I got to bounce. All right. And the roommate was like, baby girl, I'm sorry. I didn't know I had anything to do it. She said, yeah, but that's my taboo. You might have, should have taken care of that. So in his remorsefulness, he he named his system, okay, Odu. You see, and but I'm just saying, whether people challenge whatever and get all twisted about it, those are distractions. Those little conflicts and basic arguments, they're distractions. What we are moved in terms of our inner essence or Ogbon Inu is to say that this is a feminine principle. Okay, that the Odu are feminine principles that are not just married to a Rumula, but they're energies that intertwine. They're energies that become one, where the whole is greater than the sum of their parts. They keep giving birth to more knowledge, more understanding, and more in-depthness. You understand? So these terms, we just go through our involvement and not even give a thought, okay, to what we're saying, much less what we're doing. And I understand that. I do. I understand it to the point that we're doing something about it. And it's not anything that's made up. It's right there. So for example, since Nifa has the chart up, let's look at Oyeku. All right, the second one. All right, hopefully everyone sees it. So we have Oyeku. O is a non-gender specific term. I call it the one, and we'll find this in the companion book that's coming out to Ogbon. Short little plug there, but the companion book is coming out very soon. So we have Og, okay, Og, Oye, understanding, okay, Emo is knowledge, Oye is understanding, Ogbon is wisdom. So Ku, Iku, death, one who has a grasp on death, one who understands death, okay. And I go through each one of the Odu to state that they are combinations of terms, of frequencies. It's not just a name. Agbe, the one who supports, the one who upholds, the one who saves us from ourselves. You see? So when we start to study it from this perspective, from this pragmatic school of thought, then now the Odu take on a greater significance. Even the term Orisha, Ori, Sha, the empowerment, the awakening of one's Ori. And that's why Ori is so significant, so important. You see Ori in Orisha. Come on, people. Let's make the let's pull it together. Okay. So this is what Ogbon, the book that I'm teaching from here, this month. This is what it's all about. All right. Let's see what the good people have to say. Okay. Yanifa, if I call that day.
I'm here.
All right. What are some of the responses that you have and that our listeners have?
Well, first and foremost, I do see the greetings. I'm not sure if we were able to just greet them wise empress, where Bora Boye, Boshishe, Agbo,
Agboto,
Ato, Wonderful, and then another
Aji,
Shango,
greetings.
Alafia. Yeah. So yeah, not much as far as commenting.
Mhm.
As far as commenting on what you have said so far. I
Mm,
am very impressed how you were able to offer the 6 lessons,
mm,
the 6 lessons, and how in the book it's pretty much given, like for each Odu, you've
mhm,
offered 6 different ways to basically interpret this, even from down to like I'm looking at a Warren. You have the life lessons of do not let scarcity affect your wisdom. Do not let scarcity make you unwise. And then you have the self. So you went from life lessons to self, and
mhm,
then relationships and economics, health and religiosity. And so, for each one of them, that to me is interesting
mhm,
because usually what I've seen many of us do is, we go for DAFA, we get a reading, and then we get like a prescription afterwards. And they're like, Oshun comes with this reading. You need to focus on your home, focus on your children, take care of yourself, put your peace before blah, blah, blah,
mhm.
um, or avoid arguments. They'll say that, but it's never enough to go beyond the surface. And I think that even as diviners, we have a responsibility just as well as omos or
Mhm.
owls. How you feel about the omo term? Um, um, how we each have our own responsibility of seeking a deeper understanding of the Odu that we're given
Yeah.
versus just give me the Odu and then I take care of the bowl within
Mhm,
17 days. And then I'm expected to just see the miracles unfold as I go beyond. No, I think that there is, for me, it has been a healing um, journey or something for me to get the Odu, get the
mhm,
prescription, but then also sit with it and learn from it, sit with it and meditate on it. It's almost just like a person who has an addiction
mhm,
to use their hands.
mhm.
You have to substitute whatever the addiction is by being practical, like bring and practice something. So I'm going to take up on the initiative to learn more about what uh, Osai Ed means, or Osai Od. What does that really mean?
Mhm.
Other than what that Babalao said, other than what the Ebo, what took place during the Ebo, I want
Mhm.
to see it unfold, and the research helps me be at ease more than anything, more than saying, okay, it was accepted. E-Ray.
Okay.
Like for me to do the research, that gives me more ease as the days continue,
Yes.
as life goes on. That's just what works for me. But I know for others, they might be comforted enough with just knowing that Ebo was done and an animal was sacrificed.
Yeah.
I like to see how you broke it down in different ways, the 6 different life lessons. Um, for me as a practical learner, I guess maybe it could be that I like things to
Mhm.
be broken down in an analytical way. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it was constructed in an analytical way. You know what I mean? Folks just didn't roll out of bed and say, "Oh, we're going to write down, all of these Odu and all this." No, this came, the earliest finding is 6,000 years ago. You
Mm,
know, 6,000, and we know that the Yoruba calendar, not the Gregorian one that the Catholic Church brought in, but
yeah.
it's 10,000
Hmm.
years, 10,000 years. So we've been observing, we've been studying, and in our own way passing it down orally, coming up with these markings. And I tell people all the time, the
Hmm.
alphabet is the markings. The alphabets, you know, the letter B once stood for oxen or something. The alphabet just didn't come like the alphabet. It went through
Yeah.
simplistic markings into something more complex.
Hmm.
So what we have here is a way to regain, to recapture Okay, no, the the intelligence of our people. You know, we talk about our ancestors. Our ancestors. The first thing we want to do is, you know, I'm gonna say it, cosplay. Okay,
You know that's the magic word over here. Is the
uh, you know what I mean? And, and you know, as if that's all they were about. You know what I mean? Oh, well, you know, we got to go drum, we got to go dance. Now, again, nothing wrong with that. But if we're any finding Shay and we think that it's all about that, or it's all about the supernatural, or it's all about, who's in my pot, or it's all about ritual specifics, how many stones in your pot, you know what I mean, and who made you, and who this and who that, I'm like, okay, there's a vast universe out there, and there's more than one star in it. Okay, so y'all go ahead and shine over there, but over here, in this part of the universe, this is how we roll. Okay, so we're not attacking anybody. We're just saying that there's clearly, there's scientifically, there's documentation. We're not just making this up because we're tripping, or because we're being, um, like juvenile, adolescent. We're rebelling against the system. No, we're calling it like it is. We're calling it like it is, because some of us don't mind studying. Some of us got the big books. Some of us got a way of looking into things. And what I'm here to share is that Ifa has a place for us too.
okay.
There's a haven for us who don't mind thinking about our minds in our mind. So I hear you, you know?
So I want to make sure that that Olupa John, he said
Mm,
exactly. We must continue to learn and grow. Ashe, of course. And then Osa, I know he said
mm,
Ashe. This is where the pragmatic approach comes in. This is
mm.
something that I continue to meditate on. Ashe.
Ah, beautiful. Greetings, Naisha,
Mhm.
Balana.
We
Hmm.
take a holistic approach.
Yes.
Yeah, I really think that there should come a time where we explore really what that Catholic approach looks like, because I don't think people understand that. Even I have had a recent conversation with an individual who mentioned something about. I guess our discussion was about what I asked them: do they still go to church? Because they came from somewhere else, and they said, "Wouldn't that be serving two gods?" That was their approach. That was their response, rather. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
in my mind, I was like, I guess it just depends on how you view God or what God is to you.
Mm,
Because I guess this relates because it has a lot to do with the religiosity part of
yes.
things.
Yes, definitely.
Yes. Yeah. And how people limit themselves still,
To,
even Ifa, Isheshe, to think
hmm
that, oh, I left this religious format, but I'm going to take the same practice, the same viewpoint, the same the way that they receive it. I'm going to take it over here to this aspect, this way of life. And
hmm
am I the only one? I think it's more like a way of life. I
Yes,
don't I don't really see Ifi as a religious
yes.
thing, and
Right.
maybe it just is where I am at this point throughout my years of studying. But to take that same thing, whether it's Christianity, Judaism,
Islam.
Catholicism, and
Hmm.
Islam, and bring it over to this point, it makes sense why it's all about the colors or the cosplaying or the bimbes, and
Hmm.
it doesn't go any further than waiting on the babalao to give you your sermon, your lecture, and
Hmm.
you're only able to your palate is only wide enough to receive what they feed you versus what
Hmm.
you're able to go and hunt and gather for yourself. Do it.
Uh,
You know what
Ashe,
I'm saying?
Ashe. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I do. And it's all understandable. It's understandable. You know, I mean, look at how we were raised. What are we most impressed with at our most impressionable times? Well, when we're children,
Mhm. Yeah, true.
and we're taking the church or we're taking the mosque, and we're not only taking there, it comes through the media, it comes through the programs that we watch. You know, the whole religious construct is a part of social engineering. But that's nothing new. It happens in every society. Okay. It happened in ours.
Yeah.
But that disruption and destruction, okay, that's what tore us asunder. So now when someone does come into Ifa initiation, they 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 only have a reference of what they have.
Mm.
They just can't drop everything and then come in.
Yeah.
But that's where we as the priestly assist in their transformation. They're,
Mm.
they're being uprooted, not from their past, because that's impossible, but uprooted from the conditioning that happened during in their past.
Mhm.
And it's no guarantee that that's going to be 100%. But if it's enough to get them to just look this way, to look into their ancestral bearing and to accept our ancestors as something more, as something more. Okay.
Mm.
So, uh, as Iya Olabanji is saying, we can go to church, mosque, or wherever. Nature tells us a lot as well. Ifa allows us to move in all areas of life. Well, at the end of the day, like I said, it's all a pie graph. You know, you have to do what works for you, because see, we're not propagators. We're not saying, well, if you do this, then you're not worthy of Ifa.
Mhm.
But what we are saying is that, why would you deny your ancestral bearing if you are wanting to be, or even needing to be, a part of Ifa? So it's not a matter, and I'm not disputing where Ori takes you, but do you really know that that's where Ori is taking you? Because we've all been to church, and then Ori says there's something else out there, you know. But if you are satisfied in church or mosque or wherever you're satisfied in, no E5 person is going to come in and drag you out. That is
No,
not our intent.
that's
But
that's like policing someone.
exactly, that's what they do.
Yeah.
Oh, you into that voodoo stuff? Oh, you get cast down. Or your God's going to punish you, or you're going to burn in hell. You got all these fear factors. We don't do that.
Hmm.
We don't do that. Just kind of in response to the comment. So I don't know if that's where Ori is taking you. I think that's where your past experiences are taking you. I think that's where your emotional bonding is taking you.
Hmm.
I think that's where your education in these schools are taking you. But if that's where you find yourself struggling to be, then maybe that's where Ori is trying to get you out of,
I
you
do
know?
know that there was a time for myself where I was meditating and sitting with my Agun, and they advised me to go to church. And this is
Yeah.
years after getting initiated. And so
Mhm.
I followed suit, and I found that there was a different, you know, it's just a different way that I received the church afterwards.
Yeah,
And at this
yeah.
time, I was less combative, less needing to want to
Mm.
say,
Mhm.
"Oh, hold on," because I guess it's
Uh,
not for just me. I'm a mother. I'm a mother, and I have
yeah,
younger
yeah,
children. So
right.
it might be something there for them, maybe communion or something like that. And
Right,
so
right.
with the workings of me and my understanding of as a mom, as a
Mhm,
teacher of Ifa, then
mhm.
I can do my part, but there might be something there for my kids to receive. And so
Exactly, exactly.
that might
And,
spark something for them.
mhm, okay. When people in my family pass, and we're Southern. I go down to South Carolina. The same church that was there when I was a kid is the same church that they got buried in, or had the service in, and then the whole thing. So it was like, oh, I'm in the E5, so I'm not going into church. That's come on. Let's be clear, okay?
Yeah, I think
We
you're
don't
already
have
appeased and at ease.
exactly. But let me ask you this, because I know even with Islam, stuff like that, there's passages where if somebody is not of the faith, then they shouldn't even be at the funeral.
Really?
And I would wrestle with that with people. So I said, you mean to tell me that if your mother passed now because you're a Muslim, because your mother passed and she hasn't converted to Islam, that you can't go to her funeral? I said, see, that's not making sense to me. That's not
Yeah,
making
no,
sense
that
to me.
would make sense.
Or if you're a Christian and I put in my will that I want to be buried by an Iya Nifa,
Hmm.
let's see how many people from that church going to show up to my funeral.
Yeah, or even uphold and honor that.
Exactly. So these are the areas now. So because when it comes to Ori, the, see this is the introspection and the study of that I'm suggesting we need to have. You
Yeah.
know,
Hmm.
so we are more open to the experiencing without making it seem like we're disloyal to the faith. Come
Hmm.
on, I know how we've been brought up. Okay, I know where our people are, but all I'm saying is that there's someplace else to be. And even when we do bring that Catholicism, people say, "Oh, I even had students in college. Oh, I'm not Catholic. I'm Christian." I'm like, "What? That's the kind of madness that they're teaching you guys?" Yeah, well, we're not. But Catholicism brought about Christianity. Everything is a tentacle of Catholicism. I don't care if you Baptist, Jehovah Witness, or whatever. It's an outgrowth of Catholicism.
Yeah.
Protestant protested against the Catholics. Baptists came out of the Protestants. I did a whole piece on that. But the Catholicism is what made Christianity Christianity. And I'm saying the same thing about Ifa. Okay. We have the Ifa corpus. We have the Odus. We have Isheshe. Okay. There's going to be different fragments that come out of it.
Yeah.
We're just one of them. Ogbon is just one of them. We're not trying to be the only one. That's ridiculous.
Hmm.
But we are trying to say that there's a place for people who have this way of thinking. We don't have to lessen ourselves to fit into, being told, being called children, being lessened as individuals, not taking it upon ourselves to act in adult-like fashions and carry accountability and responsibility, not as stated by Oloye Baba Ifa Karadé, but as stated in the Odu. I didn't make these passages up in the book. This comes after like 30, 40 years of study
Hmm.
and being able to uh, compartmentalize, if you will, the six areas so that we're not all over the place, with it. Okay. So I'll leave it at that.
Well, yeah, I've definitely I was able to put the comments on the stage, and there's no additional comments at this point. Um,
Okay. All right. So the Odu as a way and a means to enlighten ourselves, to free ourselves from constriction and a conditioned mindset. Okay, like we say, we see Oshun in the Odu Oshe Meiji, and there's a everybody Oshun says we must love unconditionally, and the general way of looking at it is uh, basically I'm gonna love you no matter what you do to me. And my response is that's not what unconditionally means. Unconditionally means you stepping outside of your conditioned mindset, you know, freeing your mind from being conditioned and resolving and taking responsibility and even bearing the weight of the consequences as an adult. Rumula states emphatically that we must do so as adults. Okay. And we talked about the term Omo, in terms of, well, I'm a child of the Orisha, I'm a child of this and that. And well, in my books, I state emphatically that we're not children. I'm not going to walk in any place at 73 years old and somebody going to call me a child. Okay. And treat me as such and expect me to behave as such. Okay. I say an emanation. I say I was given birth to, and you might say, oh, well, that's still a child. But I'm like, no, because that seed can give a birth to a tree, but we don't call that tree a child of the seed. Okay? So again, it's all about connotation, what we've been raised to think about a word, and often not even thinking of how that word shapes our minds. Okay. We see people naming their children after biblical chapters. Mark, Luke, John, you know what I mean? It's all there. And biblical figures, Daniel, okay, Moses, okay. We see these names. But then when we start, okay, I'm going to name my child ED, I'm going to name my child Otora, I'm going to name my, why are you doing that? You understand? My daughter's name is Oshun. But that's your daughter. That's what that. Yeah, but you can name your child Sarah or Fatima. You understand? So we are at that point where we're trying to unconditionalize, if you will, our minds. And Oshun is there to say, that's what I mean by doing things unconditionally. Step out of whatever the condition is and see something else. And if you're looking for something else to see, we have 256 Odu with various verses and stories in it. It's infinite. Take what you need. You don't try to have to drink the whole ocean to know that it's salty. Okay? You take what you can. But as Arumala says again, and I repeat, is that we are set to be, okay, as stated in Ika Meiji, since we're speaking of the Odu, we're set to be truthful, okay? We are set to be righteous. We are set to be kind, compassionate, and we are set to avoid and avert cruelty. Do not be cruel unto others, and do not let people be cruel unto you. There ain't no turning the other cheek up in here. Okay? No, no. See, again, all right? And it's funny though, the very people telling you to turn the other cheek are the ones that's hitting you. Okay? Historically speaking, of course. Okay. So the whole thing is that, see, this changes our perspective. Ogbon, wisdom, is supposed to change your perspective. Other than that, it's not wisdom. You're still doing things at 35 and 40 that you were doing at 15 and 16. There's something wrong with that. And Malcolm X stated it emphatically. You know what I mean? If you're still looking at the world through the eyes of a child, yeah, fine. But if you're behaving in such a manner, that's problematic. That's problematic. I'm not the same person at 73 as I was even at 63, much less 53. Definitely not 43. I don't even remember 33. All right? Because it's a growth process with Ifa and Isheshe. You know? I'm encouraging us to grow with it, not just be in it. You know, stop doing what you're told, and start studying up and listening to these kind of discussions. Nobody's telling you what to do. We're just offering an unconditioned state of mind. You know, Ashe.
Ashe, ashe, ashe. It's a wonderful discussion. A lot. Really, I definitely love it when you talk about the Omo and child concept as beautifully as you put it. That a seed is not still going to be the child once it becomes a tree. You know, once the tree grows, you don't call the tree the child. Is that the way that you put it? I heard it
Right,
somewhere
right.
or the other. Can you
The seed
say you
is the
recite it
parent.
again?
You
The
know,
seed is the parent. Yeah.
yeah, well, yeah, well, if we were going to put it in those terms, then that would mean, oh, well, the seed is the mommy and the daddy, and the tree is the child. But that's not what's happening. We don't use those terms. And when we call each other children, you know, that might mean something else to our ancestors, 500 years ago, much less 5,000. But
Hmm.
in this country, coming with the Catholicism on top of that, when you start and oh, enslavement, they're just children, they don't, that whole thing. And again, at 73, I remember a time when black men wouldn't even be called sir
Yeah.
or by title. It's like, what you doing, boy? And what is a boy
Yeah.
but a child?
Hmm.
See, so there may be many people out here who've never been face to face with Klan, who've never, had to suffer the indignity of not being titled
Hmm.
and not being entitled. When I had my temple, anybody can tell you that came through the Karadé order, I did not ever call them a godchild, and I refuse to be called a godparent. I'm a seed, you're the tree. You bear your fruit, you build your temple, you build your throne. Okay, and that temple could be a school. That temple could be an ELA. That temple could be a department in your job. Because
Yeah.
wherever you are the sacred embodiment of Ifani Sheshe.
Yeah. Your Elay goes wherever you go.
The ELA is you. And like I
Mm-hmm.
said, I am your E-Day. You
Yeah.
understand? I am your protector. You know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
She says,
But see,
"Hey
this
Renee, welcome to the channel. I know I noticed you the other day. You on my Facebook. It said thank you for all of your knowledge. I've been called to explore this religion. Didn't know where to start. Nervous about the myths told, but the way you broke things down from what I caught on, I'm more intrigued to learn more. Well, welcome.
hey,
Right. This is
aboard.
Karadé Nation over here.
That's right. That's right. Tell them a little something about the books. The books is coming up.
Oh yeah, so I'm not sure where you are in your calling to this way of life because we don't consider it a religion.
Yeah.
But usually majority of us have been introduced, gifted, or suggested the book of the Yoruba, the handbook of Yoruba religious concepts. I'm looking for my book right now. It's probably on another part of my room, but I'll find you a picture. But usually, majority of us come into the tradition, and we are gifted this book. Mainly those of us here in the diaspora. There it goes. He has it, and so he is the author of that book. And He in that book it breaks down things at a great understanding. Whether my son is 11 years old and he's done with the book, got an 18-year-old as well. She's done with the book, and so it breaks it down at a very good, palatable understanding for those that's coming into the tradition, to especially as it pertains to the history of West African spiritual traditions, the Atlantic slave trade, how it came over here to the diaspora. It also breaks down the synchronicities of other practices such as Lakumi, Santeria, Catholicism, and even herbs. He even goes deep into the herbs, how to divine, how to cast OB, just for simple yes and no questions. But that book is a great start for individuals. The book that we're talking about right now, I would say, is like when you are done with the Handbook of Yoruba Religious Concepts, then you get this book right here. This is for the next, I would say the adults, the adults, the awos that come in. Is not to say that you can't get it and that you won't get anything from it, because you most certainly will, but it will advance you for the most part in your understanding of the philosophies of Ifa Isheshe. But yeah, this he's the author of that. A lot of people know him throughout the diaspora, throughout other countries too, because his books have reached other parts of the world. And he's also a professor. He was a professor until as of like the last week or so, right? The
Mhm.
beginning of the year. And so he is taught in the education field. He is you can go further into depths about who you are. Well, what did this one say? The Ogbon helped me to make practical sense of my Odu. Since
Mhm.
reading it, I have gained a better understanding of having Ifa blessings. Ifa Shade. Yeah, yeah, Ashe for sure. Yes, Rain. So depending on where you are, I would say I would definitely encourage you to grab these books. Um, Karadé takes good care of those that are willing to learn, especially from a literature standpoint. He got you covered with many of the books that he's published. Okay, how can you figure your Odu? Um, like I said earlier in the video, I think that whoever gave you the Odu should be responsible in educating you. But if you're trusting of others who are informative, like we are here, then you're more than welcome to ask the Karadé Nation about your Odus. In fact, we have a Odu training coming up on the 15th that will be starting. We'll be initiating. So, you could definitely participate in that if you're interested. But also, don't give out your Odu publicly. Don't ever give out. Don't just go around. I would advise you not to go around hopping around giving out your Odu to everybody. Remember that as a woman. Imagine giving out your goods. The Odu is sacred, and I tell everybody your Odu. But
Mhm.
you're welcome to come be a part of the training if you're interested. We will be having that, and also get the books because he has a way of breaking down the books. I'm not sure when you got into the live stream here, but this book right here, as well as the Handbook of Yoruba Religious Concepts, has all the Odus in it for us here in the diaspora in English, to break it down for beginner level or an advanced level. You can definitely start there to grab a book. And I'll make sure to put a link in the description as well where you can get the books from. We also have another book coming up if you want to share more about that one. Ogbon Inu.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
coming. It's coming. That one is coming up.
yeah. I've already knew was completed a week ago or so. Uh, and you hear again the term Ogbon, but now it's Ogbon Inu. So I go a little bit deeper, and I saw through my writing the extension of Tawede 2025, just like the Ogbon book that Ianifa just showed is an extension of Tawede 2024, and I charted my growth. not because I set out to do it, but because at the end of the observance, I noticed that I had changed. I had been resurrected, and like they say, once you've been initiated, you must continually reinitiate yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and that doesn't always mean a ritual. you know,
Mm-hmm.
it could mean deeper meditation. It could mean deeper detoxing. It could mean greater expansion of consciousness. You know. So, however it works for you, it works for you. With me, it's writing. Writing is my meditation.
Yeah, mine too.
Writing is my and you got to take into account that Arumina is known as the scribe of
Yes.
Ifa, just like Tahuti is known as the scribe of the Kemetans.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you want to go to Western and you have Prometheus amongst the Greeks. So there's always this figure who serves as the epitome of the writing and hence the reading of the wisdom systems based on deep, deep observance. Okay? So Ogbon Inu is a companion to Ogbon.
Mm-hmm.
It's a companion book. It's like if you put the two together, you got something more than the sum of the parts. Okay? It's exponential because you see growth in it. You see a deeper kind of insight into the Ifa Isheshe path. Okay? And as stated in that book, and I'm glad Ian Nipa, echoes it. Ifa is not my religion; it's my existence. And there's a whole story behind that revelation that came to me. But it's crystal. At some point, the religiosity becomes how you live, how you breathe, how you carry yourself. You know, in this world and the worlds beyond. So
Mm-hmm.
that's Akbani new. And by this time next month, for sure, for real, uh, it'll be ready. The only thing we're working on now, basically, is the cover.
Yeah. I'm glad that she mentioned that she's nervous about the myths told, but by the way things were broken down, she's more intrigued by it. I like that. With the book Agban and with Agban Inu, you'll be able to create your own, understanding that will debunk the myths because you are living the Odu, you are living the Ori Shah. You're the one that's bringing these things to life. So, if you are able to understand what we mean by a pragmatic approach to the
Hmm.
Ifa philosophy, then you'll understand how you are a living vessel of your Odu. And so, despite whatever myths or stories that have been told through all the people, because these stories that people experience throughout Ifa Isheshe or Ifa Lukumi of horrors and it's endless. It's endless of the amount of things that people go through. But you'll be able to create your own, by taking your own initiative. You're initiating yourself, into the tradition.
I like that.
Not, not, and I want to be careful about initiating yourself.
Okay.
As
Let's
I have my viewpoint about people who try to initiate themselves. We
right.
this is a oral tradition, so
Mm.
you don't just go out there trying to initiate yourself, but with the right community,
Yes.
receiving what it is that you're supposed to receive, wisdom from the elders,
Mm.
ancestral medicine,
Mm.
yeah, and great guidance from
Right. Right.
individuals who have your best interests at heart. That's
Right.
why I am here. That's why I have connected with him. It's because I have experienced my own horrendous path, and I would not want anyone else to repeat any of that. I would not want anybody to be a victim of any of it. So trust your Ori, and in the end, find the right person for you that will be of light and honesty. Hmm.
No, 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 no. This thing. Yes, yes, nice. Can you pull up, uh, perhaps in closing, Awake with Ifa?
Oh, on YouTube?
Yeah, just so
From
they can
YouTube?
see what's happening.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, no
Or
problem.
just the picture, the flyer. My people,
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
we're starting a program tomorrow titled Awake with Ifa. Be
Mhm.
available on YouTube. Will also be available on Facebook or just YouTube?
YouTube,
Okay,
YouTube.
so
I could share the videos on there, but most definitely you can find it on YouTube.
yeah, okay, and we'll put something on screen so you'll have it. But
Yeah.
every day you get a daily dose of elder wisdom, okay, based on Ifa Isheshe principle.
Yeah. Let's see.
And,
Let me-
and at
Yeah, you can find it.
at least, if we're unable to pull it up now, you can go to what's your YouTube channel URL?
It's Sacred Waters Healing Temple. Sacred
Yeah,
Waters Healing Temple. Yep. So um, each morning we will be going live with the nice message, Awake with Ifa, a daily dose of elder wisdom and ancestral medicine. And it'll be premiering daily at 5 a.m. So unless, like, you may be on your way to school, getting the kids ready, getting them in the car, helping mom out, helping dad out, whatever your morning consists of, you'll have something to listen to that will be able to, get your day going in the morning with some good wisdom. You can
right.
definitely tune over there to YouTube. I put it on YouTube because I know that you can do the picked in picture option so that if you're moving around, it's just like playing. But I will be uploading these things onto the podcast that we have so that you can have the option of listening to it on Apple or Spotify or wherever else that would be. So that it'll be available and links will be in descriptions and you'll be able to find it. And also my inbox is open if you have any questions or if you want to just go over anything, have anything that you want to talk about, I'm definitely here. And also, I'll be sending out links and stuff to books and events that are in the works and in the plan.
Shit.
So yeah, I should. I'm glad that you all were able to gather something and that you all came to be a part of this moment. It means so much to us. And that you were able to receive some things. So look forward to hearing more from you guys being a part of your journey, right?
Right. Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
should. I should. Well, I will go ahead and end it from here, and you all enjoy the rest of your day. Right? Any lasting words that we want to leave them with?
I'm just always taken to new heights. Every Sunday, every Sunday, it's like we're
Good word.
climbing this mountain of magnificence, and and people are showing up. People are showing up because what we have is good. It's it's untainted. There's no hidden agendas or ulterior motives. You know, this is generational. you know, uh, my age and the group that's close to it, uh, your age and the group that's close to it, and everybody in between, and everybody coming up. So it's a greater definition of an egg bed. A greater definition of people on the same spiritual path who join together in spirit. And we leave all that baggage at wherever we leave it, but we're leaving it. Okay, so we give thanks. Okay, Adupwe, and as Ian Nifa stated, well, blessings for today. And tune in tomorrow. I mean, once it's on at 5 o'clock, it's going to be. on there all day, so you can tune in at any time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and
Shay.
it's yeah, and leave your comments. You're invited to do that.
Yes,
It's all
encourage you to do that.
recorded. So leave your comments. We'll read over, the comments, and respond as much as possible. But we definitely appreciate your involvement, and we encourage you to hit those like buttons, and let the world know that we're standing on solid ground up in here. Okay.
All right.
All
All
right.
right. O dupuyo. All right. Have a good evening, guys.